It's patch day, it's patch day. Always excited for patch day. Hi, Keith Estes here. I'm very excited to see what is in store for us PvPers in DLC2, Children of the Worm. Spoiler, no, it looks like no Children of the Worm for us, at least not yet. Maybe we'll see those in another update. But check out the great trailer for the DLC. Here's a cut-down version with the most relevant part for Swarmers. What do we have? The patch notes show us plenty to think about. I can't digest those and create a timely video, so more on those another time. Now, though, time to go over the new features, most notably Dan. Besides Dan, we should be getting bow, claws, bait jar, smoke grenades, bear trap, and more cards. First, Dan talk. Dan, I'm sorry to say, is, like Mom, way too strong for PvP. I said it in my Dan teaser video. 4 in caps in the first minutes of a campaign run means you're doing it wrong and will change your strategy, but there will be in caps, 3 to 4, at least in the first minutes of a swarm round. That means you're playing PvP. So, looking at all the perks across all cleaners, Dan, like Mom, is mostly focused on team effects. With the exception of Carly's toolkit and maybe Walker's frag grenade, none of the starting equipment matters at all, so ignore that. Dan has 3 abilities. A random effect is played whenever any cleaner is revived by anyone, increased combat attributes when others are incapped, 3 team damage resistance and knockback immunity while reviving. Now, to the details we have learned from the dev stream a few days ago. Random effects on revives. It looks like there are 8 unique revive effects. Here they are from the dev stream. Carnage, active frag grenades appear around the revived cleaner. Radiance, active flashbangs appear around the revived cleaner. And Vanish, active smoke grenades appear around the revived cleaner. Those 3 should not matter much in PvP. They will make some cool plays occasionally, but they would surprise me if it was reliably decisive. Riches, copper piles appear around the revived cleaner. This can give your team the chance to maybe unbolt more weapons, which is nice, but will rarely give your team a huge advantage, except if the 250 copper bug is not fixed and happens to your team. The light, 2 different ones of these, same name. First, team extra damage 5% until the end of the level. And the light 2, team 5% damage resistance until the end of the level. Those 2 could be quite powerful. They're the only way that cleaners can become more powerful in a round rather than weaker and weaker as they run out of supplies and are hit by trauma. The longer the round goes, the more these will stack up, so maybe they'll be too strong, we'll see. Vigor, team full HP restore, but not trauma. This could have a major impact on a match. If a team is on the ropes and draws this, they could easily survive much, much longer. Compare that to another team that gets copper or smoke grenades, and even I get suspicious of RNG in games. Lastly, Vitality, team plus life. None of the others is as potentially game-breaking, match-determining as this. Playing Ridden against Dan could turn into a seemingly never-ending game of whack-a-mole, where an inability to get all of the cleaners down simultaneously means you get none of them. If this effect roll happens regularly, then it will be quite common for competent teams to survive well past 5 minutes. Teams surviving past 5 minutes is very bad for competition. It means the winner of a round is strongly influenced by where the swarm circle shrank to. Good team with bad circle will tend to lose to worse team with good circle. So fingers crossed this event either isn't in PvP at all or has a very low roll chance. Combat stats after incaps. Vengeful, bear in mind that name, gives him combat bonuses for 10 seconds whenever a teammate is incapped. In the dev stream, Avenge the Fallen, they had 2 copies, gave Dan infinite ammo for reloads made in that period. There is conjecture online that Vengeful is a personal copy of Avenge the Fallen. Seems like a reasonable deduction, especially since the dev stream showed them having identical timers, in which case it means Dan, for those 10 seconds, has not just infinite ammo reloads, but also 30% extra damage and 20% reload speed. We'll have to wait for the lab rats at Back for Stats to confirm all that. And the revive bonuses. This perk is potentially as decisive as the plus team life effect, and the 2 may work together to make a decent cleaner team very hard to take down. We didn't really get a chance to see it in action on the dev stream, though, as far as I could tell. As an example of when it would have mattered is this clip from the Blazehawk channel, Actual's recent video. Apparently I'm actually a god shredder. There are still several questions that need answering about this perk, though, such as if you're standing in pus and revive with Dan on the team, do you take damage from the pus at all? From commons? Pep Talk isn't popular in PvP, so I just don't know. The damage resistance will not often make much of a difference since everyone should have good revive speed. Your time, the amount of healing that will save you isn't really a lot. But when it saves your team, you'll be happy for it. There are more questions, though, about the knockback immunity. Consider knockback immunity versus Hawker Harpoon. Knockback immunity versus Stalker Pounce. I'm fairly confident that Stalker AoE stun should not get disrupted. Knockback immunity versus Crusher. and knockback immunity versus the Shredder pull. I don't even want to guess which of these the immunity will be to and which will not, so let's go find out. After watching the dev stream and talking with other swarmers, I'm resigned to Dan just being way too good, way too much value. He will be in the S tier, you're dumb if you don't have him on your team group, meaning half of every strong team must be Mom and him. That doesn't leave a lot of room for team composition variability, which means a stale meta once everyone optimizes their builds. Among the other cleaners, the two strongest are probably still Carly. Carly moves down just slightly to A tier or great, by the way. And Walker. Strong arguments could be made for Hang, who's my favorite, and Doc. But honestly, it's much easier to just run Walker in a team than use either Hang or Doc. With two slots locked to Mom and Dan and these four cleaners here, the other cleaners just don't matter, except Evangelo if you're queuing solo, but he won't appear in any kind of competitive matches. So expect to see this quad a lot. If you're ridden first and see this pack of cleaners loading in, expect a tough game because your opponents probably know what they're doing. Turtle Rock, please make Mom and Dan weaker for PvP. You know who needs a buff? Hoffman. Talk to me offline, we can solve this. Moving on from Dan, the next additions should be the new weapons and accessories. The claw looks good, and it may even make melee relevant again. The bow looks good, though it's unclear whether it'll be better than using any of the current secondary guns. The bait jar may be useless. They're essentially longer-lasting firecrackers. That's great, because currently firecrackers are horrible since we only ever get white ones, which last for about a second. And if you can manage to bait jar directly on a mutation, maybe it'll be like hitting a Left 4 2 bile bomb, and that player could be blinded or have their cleaner outline vision disabled. There's an evolution hunter that does that too. Either of those effects could actually make bait jar pretty valuable. Smoke grenades are the biggest question. I trust that they'll work against commons. They worked well against the AIs on the stream. But will they have any effect in regards to player ridden? I'd like to see cleaner outlines turned off for any cleaner in the smoke and for any ridden in the smoke. If only one or neither of those happen, then it's kind of just another firecracker. Bear traps. If there were a lot of great uses of bear traps on the stream, I'm sorry I missed them. They could be a nice little buff for static defense or even trapping mutations as you run for time. They could be fun. But if they don't do enough damage or hold the specials for long, then that should be addressed in future updates. Overall, I'm skeptical of the new accessories. Yes, they could be good, but some have the chance to be just bad item spawn RNG. If some team sees a box full of frags, they will have a distinct advantage over their opponents instead, who draw firecrackers and smoke grenades. We'll see. Now perhaps the biggest change to Swarm from DLC2, other than Dan, is the addition of new cards. We got 20 new ones, well, new to us. Here they are mostly in the order they appear in the card pool UI. Rhythmic Breathing, Slugger, Brazen, and Soften Up are all melee focused. So is Sadistic, though it's possible to use that as a shooty player too. More on those later. Headband Magnifier seems like a weird addition, but use speed is revive speed and we're all about revives, so maybe it'll work well. I just don't know how frequently the blind is since I don't campaign. Ammo Mule may be a good pick, particularly for AA12 users. Optics Enthusiast is a niche we don't have yet. Flat accuracy buffs. It could be powerful, but does cost a valuable card slot. Padded Suit and Meat Grinder I don't foresee a lot of people using, but maybe they'll work for you. Power Reload could be fun. We've already got Power Swap, so Power Reload could just introduce a bit more technical play in and buff high-skill players enough to take good advantage of it. Guns Out gives us much-needed swap speed options. Body Armor is a worse durable, but we'll see how that plays out over time. Highwayman, this is the old version here. The new one can spawn Bait Jar. Could be fun. Life Insurance sounds like a strong addition, but honestly, with Dan, you probably don't need it. Wounded Animal could be fun. These three were all missing. The option to increase slots by 2 by taking a downside. I don't know of any strong builds now that they will make a huge difference for, but carrying a bunch of pills could be a great strat. Belt Clip is the quick accessory version of cards we already have for support and offensive accessories. Realistically, you're unlikely to use a lot of these new cards. Swarm, and I'll discuss in a moment, is already cleaner-centric. If they were to give us every campaign card, it would just be too hard to kill competent cleaners in a reasonable amount of time. So getting cards that seem like odd duck puzzle pieces is a blessing. Who will find ingenious ways of using cards that don't blow us away initially? Confused? Well, these are the 4 cards I recommend trying out first. Power Reload, I said, could be a huge buff for anyone willing to master it. I don't know how or if it works with Admin Reload, maybe comment below if you do. Ammo Mule, best for sniper and shotgun users, but maybe it'll become a good pick for others as well in time. For anyone who hasn't used a lot of plus ammo cards, your max carry capacity, adjusted upward for having cards, is refilled at the start of every round. So you can dump an even bigger pile of ammo in the middle. Remember in general though that without ammo cards, if you run out of ammo in the Swarm round, you already won or you screwed up. The number of times I've dropped my starter ammo in the center of the map and then not had any when the mutations appear, let's just say I don't put those clips on the channel. Optics enthusiast could be a thing. If you've used it in campaign, please let me know in the comments how worthwhile it is. Likewise, wounded animal sounds great, maybe, but there really aren't a lot of commons to kill most of the time in Swarm anyways, so I can't wait to try. Now, if you're melee, maybe these 5 cards and finding claws could make a big difference. Bait jars and firecrackers can make Sadistic build to some incredible stacks in DPS, like Berserker. Maybe run both Sadistic and Berserker. The claws look to do fantastic damage, and I don't know what their Holly build was, but she seemed to never run out of stamina. So mix these in with several of the cards below, toss in some other good cards like King Wolf discusses, that link above, and maybe melee has been made acceptable again. We'll see. I'll certainly try. I just really hope it doesn't turn out to be old weapons useless, fine claws godly. Maybe the new melee things can bump Holly back up to C tier from D. Now, cards we don't see. Given how strong cleaners already are, I can easily rationalize many cards not being ported over to us. This row of cards all give cleaners significant health boosts. Cleaners already have a lot of health and healing. Any good team is running multiple copies of Well Fed, using Walker, Vitamins, Inspiring Sacrifice, probably Poultice, Antibiotic Ointment, maybe Fire in the Hole. There's a lot of health, so cleaners have a lot more of it, and it doesn't make for a better match. I would actually argue that Medical Professional could be a good PvP card, as it would require the team to coordinate so the player with the card is the one using those supplies, but with Dan's boosts already being added, maybe it just won't matter. Grenade Training, and I think there's another card or two similar I didn't put here, is too close to Bomb Squad. Original Bomb Squad was detested by the PvP community because making frag grenades one-shot everything just isn't fun. So any card that enables that probably isn't fun. That's why we've been asking for months for new Bomb Squad to be fully removed too. Similarly, Pinata and Magician's Apprentice are entirely too accessories focused. There's already enough accessory spam in Swarm when people run me. Cocky is too good and removes all other swap speed cards from the meta contention, so I'm glad it's missing. Killer's Instinct arguably could be included as a nice melee buff, but maybe it would make AA12 spamming too strong. Rolling Thunder also may be being held back for the same reason. Reckless Strategy could be fine, but maybe too many weak spot damage cards is bad, and its presence would invalidate some, like Sadistic. Overprotective is just free DPS. There's no skill or downside to it, and from what I hear from campaign people, it works even better than the card text suggests. As few common as appear in Swarm, Broadside would basically nullify them. Glass Cannon, that is a tough call. Yes, it has a downside, but that is a lot of amazing benefit at the cost of only a minor downside. In effect, it would heavily be a win more card. Strong cleaners with 150 or so base health would easily pick Glass Cannon and mow down specials rapidly with not really much loss to their overall survivability. Yes, it could make for some good competitive trade-offs, but what I foresee happening is it being used by top players who would essentially be unkillable with it, and it being misused by newer players who would themselves just die faster with it. So yes, maybe it would be good on some level, but looking at the entire player base, it's probably more trouble than benefit. So I'm, for now, glad we don't get to use it. Mag Coupler. If reload only affected replacing and refilling your magazine or shell well, that'd be one thing, but reload speed gives a massive DPS boost to shotguns and 2 of the 3 sniper rifles, so let's slowly increase the card pool, and this seems like a safe choice to leave out for now. Similar to the heal cards, Bodyguard is just free health, and campaign people tell me it works better than what the text says. We've got enough health cards in Swarm already. These next 3, maybe they are needed in Swarm. Melee has been incredibly weak since it was all retooled in June, so maybe these 3 strong cards could be good additions to make Melee relevant again. But Melee is already getting several new cards in this patch, so we'll see. If Melee is fine now, great. If not, we can talk about these again for a future patch. I'm particularly concerned with Spiky Bits and Heavy Hitter, in that I'm told that they both affect the standard bash, not just the melee weapons. If they worked on just the melee weapons, great, seemed reasonable. But giving the bash massive power to wipe out commons and do as much or more damage than a melee or pistol, I can't get behind that. Sorry. Not unless it's the combat knife, but that's a different discussion. The cards I've not talked about at all are the DLC2 specific new cards, the new campaign cards. Some of those sound great for PvP, I'll admit. I would love to see a team trying to use experimental stems versus player-controlled mutations, for instance. Some have no business in PvP, like suppressing fire. Being slowed is awful. I want the devs to take their time in making cleaners strong. Some of these could be very disruptive or buggy. I'm happy if the campaign players are our guinea pigs, and then we can pick and choose which cards we want based on their feedback. That's it. That's the quote new stuff we have been teased. I have been looking over the patch notes myself, and I don't so far have a lot to say on that. Whether in the notes or not, more than anything, even more than having new cleaners and maps and at some point playing as cultists, I just want Swarm to work for everyone. I see countless posts and comments and tweets online about people saying they want to play Swarm, waiting 20 or 30 minutes and never finding a game, or waiting 20 minutes, finding a game, and then it not loading enough players, or someone quits. Swarm could be a great mode for everyone if they worked on its bugs and infrastructure. Link above for a definitive list I'll be checking through again myself in the coming weeks. I'm also hopeful for us PvPers to be able to earn skull totems at some point. The best scheme I've seen is complete and lose a match, 1 skull totem. Complete and win a match, 3 skull totems. Every 1,000 mutation points spent, maybe 500, 1 skull totem. And your team kills a whole cleaner team in under a minute, 2 skull totems. Anything like that would be great. Other than all this, the immediate 50-meter target on my wish list would be, number 1, the 4 versus 3 dead game bug. 2, less region lock. Let people connect at 100 to 250 ping without needing to be partied up. That would drastically make it easier for people to play Swarm. And 3, the server crash bug, which only began in June. And maybe some new maps. That arena looks like a cool Swarm spot. Now that another DLC is out, this is another great time to jump into Swarm. Check out my guides and those of King Wolf. Watch some videos on the Blazehawk channel. If you want help getting into a party so you can find matches easily, just comment below and I'll hook you up. Go and have fun.